G'day guys, this is an update on the Australian Telegraph line transposition bracket. So we'll start with this one here. This is a aluminium bracket made by Townsend and Parker in Melbourne. So the wires, when the wires would have come into it like this and then crossed over as a way to prevent crosstalk in the lines. But the problem with the aluminium ones is, as you can see, when the aluminium expands, it can break the insulators. It hasn't quite broken these ones yet, but they're absolutely seized on, as you can see. But that's just the later years one that's relatively easy to find now. It's not hard to find, but that's what it looks like. Next, we have this one. This one is made of steel and is earlier than the aluminium ones. Very heavy, but the steel ones of nearly all the kinds have removable pins, unlike the aluminium ones. So you can remove these pins and swap them out or whatever without removing the whole bracket. That's kind of an advantage of it. And since it's flat here, it's less likely to dig into the cross arm as it moves. But it has the same idea. It crosses over on like one pair of wires. It's so heavy. Next we have this one here, another steel one, a bit earlier than the other one. It says top there, but this is a special one that's made to fit the imperial and the metric crossarm hole spacings. As you can see, it's got 3 holes there. There is another kind of this that is cut off there that doesn't have the extra hole, so it only fits the metric pin spacing, but this one fits them both. It has the same insulators as the others, but I took them off, and still stays with the same idea that the wires cross over sides. Next, this one. This here is one that's used in 2 pieces, so you would have 2 of these. Say if the cross arm was here, there would be one facing this way and the other one would be facing that way, so it could swap. Say this is the low insulator here, it could swap to the other low insulator and the high one could do the same, which is another method of crossing over. This is not my favorite design because due to it having just a small pad here, it has the tendency to bend with the pull of the wires, which is a bit of a problem. That might be why they stopped using these. And also there's a sub version of this as well, but I haven't found one of those, so I can't show you one, unfortunately. Next is this one here. This is called a double spindle bracket. So there's a bolt that goes through there, it holds it like that on the cross arm. Then one of the wires in the pair goes to the higher one to the low, and then it swaps mid-air, so it's a mid-air type transposition bracket, this one. Next we have this one here. This is called a drop transposition. It hangs from under the cross arm, it's like that. And I'm sure American insulator collectors will be familiar with this. Just hangs, then one wire in the pair stays up on the cross arm and the other comes down to this and also crosses mid-air, just like the last one I showed you. And that's a early type design too. They do come with a American pin size, but I haven't found a good condition one of them yet. So this is just an Australian 1-inch pin, which I found on it, by the way. Next we have another 2-piece transposition bracket. So there'd be 2 of these. You can see it goes down like a staircase there. So the cross arm would go through that bolt in the middle, and there would be 2 of these, one this way and one that way. Sorry guys. So the wires could cross over, one high and one low, without touching. That's an early design as well. I found this one in the state of New South Wales with 2 RF LTD insulators on it, but they were both broken, unfortunately. Next we have this one here. So this was also used in 2 pieces, but this is called a brake iron bracket. So the wire would terminate on each insulator and then come up and then over to the next one on the next bracket. So it wouldn't just be continual like the other ones. It would terminate on all four, then cross up like that. It's not particularly a very good design, as if one side has more of a pull than the other, it will tend to pull the thing down like that, but that's just how it is. Next we have a later design brake iron bracket. This is a bit more modern, that fits the tall insulators. Has a bolt that goes through the sensor as usual, and I found this one still with wires attached, so that's how I know how they were used. It was ending on here. I've got the other one as well, and that's significantly smaller than the other, which is, I guess, somewhat of an advantage. And finally, hold on, we have this thing here. This won't fit in the camera, but we'll just show you one side of it anyway. I think you get the idea. So this thing here is called a phantom transposition bracket, and this was used to cross over. Instead of just crossing a pair of wires with each other, this can cross two individual pairs over, which is also more of an American type design, not very common in Australia, but they still do exist, as you can see here. This is made of steel and it's extremely heavy, and you can remove the pins. But the way this would have been used, so on this side all the 4 pins are at different heights, but then if you go to the other side, bear with me, this side, the low pins are the same height and the high pins are the same height, if you can see that. Back to here. But what happened is there's 4 types of phantom transposition that you can do. So you could just cross the pairs without the pairs individually crossing, or you could cross the pairs over to the other side with a cross, if I'm not confusing you, with in the actual pair. So that's, so you could either do 2 non-cross pairs going over, 1 crossed, like say this pair crossed over, or this pair crossed over, or both pairs crossed, if that makes sense. Probably doesn't, but I hope it does. And that's very heavy. That would have taken up about 4 holes on a standard 8-pin cross arm, because 4 wires go on one side of an 8-pin cross arm, obviously. And this is pretty old design. I found 2 insulators near it, which were both FB41s, but it had nothing on it when I found it, but that's what I found near it. So, and that matches about the age of the thing, 1941 about, they would have made this. I've heard that they weren't a very effective design, so they weren't used widely, but I'm happy to have found such a thing. It's a very interesting design thing as well. Well, anyway, hope you enjoyed that. That's just a few of the types of transpositions. There's about six odd types of steel just single bracket like this, but I couldn't get them all here today. They're all the same design, that with one pair crossing with 4 insulators, but different designs in the actual metal base. And all the pins are interchangeable, as I've already said. So that's it, guys.